yell it at him like, if you're not going to pass it, just be Rui Diaz. Just have that little shimmy, that shake, push the ball out, and just slam it, man. This is what you do.
I think we were also kind of under the assumption that León were more than likely going to win this. And now we were saying that just like, they're not a Chivas, they're not the America, they're not a... Obviously, Chivas are having some problems right now.
Come on, man.
They're not... shouldn't be saying that. They're not at Toluca, they're not at Tigres. But I don't know. Like, I was still pretty impressed by Seattle. And I just wonder if that Rui Diaz chance would have gone in. What would have happened? What would happen if Rui Diaz's confidence was a little bit higher after? What would I don't know. I was still pretty impressed with them. I still think that León were the deserved winners here, but I don't know. I think Seattle will have some silver linings here.
They do, but León have the cup. León have the night out in Vegas, I assume, if they're doing it like the U.S. national team did after that Nations League victory. And León have something to build on here. So let's talk about what it means for the champions. This is not Liga MX. This is not CCL. This is not Libertadores. You said it, but this is a starting point for a club that needed one internationally and a starting point for a new manager.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll have fans celebrating on the streets. I mean, maybe in Las Vegas, perhaps, but I mean, I think it's a sign of the team making a step forward. I think in a new era for the club. I mean, this is a tangible sign of them making early improvements with Roldan. And we talked about this before, but as León try to gain ground on the bigger, the equipo grandes in the Mexican soccer world, and as they chase those Globo Americas, I think this League Cup title pushes them a little bit forward. I'm not going to say it's a huge leap forward, but it does push them a little bit forward. And I think what's fascinating too is that they were able to do this without Luis Montes in the starting 11. Yes, he showed up in the second half. Yes, you could say he had a little bit of an impact there in the second half, but I think for the most part, he wasn't the game changer for León. So I think while they're going through this transitionary period after Ignacio Ambriz with Roldan and with this new era, I think it's kind of fascinating to see how they're moving on past Ambriz and maybe moving on past Montes as well. And I think that, when you look at Montes, someone who traditionally shouts direction, someone who can accurately hit the target from distance, and he's such a clutch player. I think it was kind of fascinating that León were able to do this without him in the 11, and it's once again kind of symbolizes the team moving forward and the team, I don't know, maybe down the line that we can kind of see this as a reference point when they eventually will become a equipo grande. But don't quote me on that, but maybe there's a chance.
I mean, it's proof of concept for Roldan. It definitely is, and he was a successful coach in Argentina and in Chile. He won the Sudamericana with Independiente a couple of years ago. He won the league in Chile with Católica. So like he has done it there, but we all know it's a different thing for a lot of these guys when they come from South America to Liga MX. And we all saw how bad this Club León team was 3-4 months ago, or 4 or 5 months ago, I guess now, against Toronto FC. Like, they lost to Toronto's USL team, basically. This is a different team tonight. And they played, it was solid, and it was very physical, and it felt very much like a cup final for the first 45 minutes. And then they got punched in the mouth to start the second half, and then to go out there after that and to win the game the way they did. This new era for Club León, I would be pretty stoked about it if I was one of their fans, for sure.
Yeah, and I made the joke earlier that just like, if you could give a man of the match award to a manager, it should go to Roldan, which I agree. But I think also we got to give credit to Ángel Mena. I talked about it with you guys before, and I feel like he could be a little hot or cold. He could be sometimes go missing, a little absent for León in big matches, but he really, truly stepped up today. And I
wanted that trophy, man. Wanted to go out to the club.
There you go. That trophy, man. I don't know how many beers you can fit in it. That's like, it looks like half a keg. It's a half pony. It's no joke. It's huge. They were having a great time with it, trying to figure it out afterwards. On the flip side, it's interesting. One of the biggest images on an MLS side looking at this afterwards that stuck out to me was just a shot from the stands. Somebody there, and there were reports of a lot of Sounders fans being there. You could hear them on the broadcast as well as the León fans. And it was the Roldan brothers sitting next to each other, looking out. And I put a poll out during the game about Christian. Basically, how many games is he going to play for Seattle? Because he feels like he will likely be, or could be, I should say, probably more accurately, a one-club man in MLS, a possibly 400-plus or more appearance guy. This was just his third loss of the year. Let's just take a look at the goal, because this was one of the highs to try to revisit where we were through those first 60 minutes, and in the moment that he delivered. I just wonder, Kalen, if you can kind of put in perspective this year and overall what Cristian Roldan means to this club. I mean, this was very close to being sort of yet another iconic moment for him, but it's just been big moment after big moment for Cristian Roldan in 2021.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice little jab step by Madronda, who's been a sneaky good signing for them during the offseason, and gets him behind. But then Roldan, he just seems to kind of find this moment in the box in these late arriving runs, and he takes his chance really well. The Sounders came out so well right after halftime, seemed to have all the energy, and kind of, yeah, they don't have Jordan Morris, but they don't have necessarily even speed on the wings. Madronda is not a burner, but they just have that ability to use their intelligence and timing to get in behind. And then once you do that, of course, you're going to have Rui Diaz, who's going to draw some attention. And then Roldan he just seems to find the right moments, whether it's, defensively to win a ball or to nick one. And then offensively, picking the right pass on the final ball. We've seen that with the national team time and time again, even coming off the bench. But also just, you really can't underestimate he's a gamer. Like, he's just a big game player. And this is part of the reason why we say you want him in the national team, and why you feel like he has a great chance of, hopefully if and when we qualify, and he could be a big part of that, going to Qatar, is just because he's the type of player that, when it's a final, or when it's a qualifier, or if it gets to a World Cup match, that he's going to be able to find those moments. And in those moments, he's found ways to get goals.
Cristian Roldan, future Leagues Cup champion. You heard it here. We're coming back. We're running it back next year. We're coming for 2023. Everybody gets a shot. That's what's up. But what now for Seattle, Doyle? What now? This is a loss in a final, but they have so much to play for, and they have seemingly some possibility, but also maybe a little trepidation when it comes to these stars that are still out via injuries. Because Nico's probably out till the end of the year, it seems like. Jordan Morris is raring to get back, but come on, you're not going to rush him back.
Yeah, there's more question marks than I think they would like to have at this point in the season, and it does come down to injuries. And the other thing it comes down to is an experience, because this was, Brian Schmetzer was hesitant to, I think, put Josh Atencio in there when I thought Kellen Rowe was pretty much out of gas by about the 65th minute mark. He was hesitant to use Leo Chu when, this back line for Club León was just dying to be counterattacked with speed. And so it's weird to say this, because the Sounders have been so consistently good all year long, no matter who's been available and who's missing. And because they're the Sounders, they've just been consistently good since 2009. But there's a little bit of flux right now, because they don't know whether or not they're going to have their best player, who's Lodero's still their focal point, man. When he's available out, everything about this team changes. So you don't know what you're going to get from Jordan Morris. You don't know how big a role Chu is going to play. So you don't know really whether you're going to go back to playing a 4-2-3-1, or whether you're going to be a sort of 3-4-2-1 team or a 3-5-2 team, which they were at the start of the year a little bit. So all of these questions suddenly need to be answered, and then they have to get over the emotions of losing this game and go right back into the MLS regular season and try to fight for home field advantage in the Western Conference.
By the way, it's Kansas City at the weekend. It's the team above them in the Western Conference.
Yeah, so it's a 6-pointer right there. So, the good thing about it from a Sounders point of view is they do have a ton of guys on the field who have been there before. They will have Raul Rui Diaz and Cristian Roldan. And Rui Diaz, after missing 2 chances in this one that you would bet your life on him burying, he's probably going to score 2 this weekend, because he's that type of player. And so it's good that they have that, but it still feels like we haven't seen the Sounders' final form. And part of that is injury, and part of that is just they don't even really know what it is yet.
Certainly don't. Trying to find it again. Trying to find where they go from here without Nico Lodeiro. Certainly. Nuhu will be back. That will help them out to go back to defensive errors. I mean, if you look at all three of these goals, where's Jimmy Madronda on the first? There's 6 Sounders marking in the 18-yard box, and there are 2 Club León players wide open on the back post. You have a PK that you can't give up. You have a giveaway in midfield. You have a 3-2 loss that you look back on and say, what could have been? And that is the MO for MLS in these competitions. What could have been? Sounders into a final, can't get it done. Club León, second ever champions of the League's Cup. Cruz Azul, of course, the first. Cruz Azul, by the way, going to Columbus for Campeones Cup next Wednesday. We will see you then as well. Before we get out of here and let you get on with your evening or go to sleep or whatever it is you're doing, League's Cup expansion. Can we just talk about this real quick? Because it's going to get bigger. I referenced it. 2023, every single club from both Liga MX and MLS coming in. Late summer, don't have the exact dates, don't have the exact format, but it seems likely group to knockout round. A full month, both leagues will take that month off. So there will be no situation, as Peter Vermees faced earlier this year, where you say, golly, we'd love to put some resources into this, but we can't because we're focused on the league. No, this is it. This is what you got to do to build momentum to the playoff run, to keep your cohesion together, to maybe test out some new signings you have coming in the summer with a trophy on the line. It's going to be really interesting, as well as CCL places on the line. Top team goes straight to the knockout round, second and third, go into that round 1. CCL is new and reimagined as well for 2024. Go check that out, MLSsoccer.com. Cesar, what do you think of this? And maybe come at it from a Liga MX perspective, from a perspective of hegemony and dominance.
I think most Liga MX fans, at least on Twitter, have a very different perspective than I do. But at the very least, the perspective that I have is that, I know I've talked to you guys about this, but I'm definitely, I'm not emotionally overwhelmed by the League's Cup just yet. I'm not, just like entirely like really, really like emotionally like excited about the League's Cup just yet. But I think this is a big step in the right direction. I think you'll get a lot of interest with something like this, especially when you involve all teams. And I don't know, I'm all for more on the field reference points that we can have regarding Liga MX and MLS. I mean, will this tournament truly show whether Liga MX or MLS is the better league? Probably not. But at the very least, I like the idea of having this tournament where you have like every single option going up against each other and seeing who ultimately wins it all, especially when you have CCL options on the line too. So am I thrilled about the current setup? Am I entirely fascinated by it? I'm not, as I've talked about, this week's League's Cup game wasn't even the biggest Mexican soccer game of the week. It's the Clásico Nacional this weekend. But nonetheless, when you look at something that they're creating for 2023, I'm definitely intrigued by that. And I think I'm going to have to wait and see how I feel once that tournament goes underway. But I know I'm definitely fascinated by what it could do.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think when we've had sort of issues with these, how do you measure these or not? So much of it has come down to, well, MLS isn't in the right part of their season, or we're not quite fit, or we're not quite ready, and we can't play all of our players. And I think this one, with both leagues just sort of hitting pause and putting all their chips in on this, I think it allows teams to really kind of have no excuses and to really kind of go for it. And so I think as a sort of a data point, it's a lot more interesting in that perspective. And then even from a player development pathway perspective as well, it's so important, I think, for players to be exposed to these types of environments. When I played in MLS, I was playing against Liga MX teams, but generally in the preseason, where we'd go to Guadalajara, or we'd go to Aguascalientes, or wherever we would go, and we would get run off the park because it was our preseason, and that would have probably happened anyways. And I don't know, it was kind of a wild scene because we had Blanco, and it was really a great time. But once I got to CONCACAF Champions League with the Dynamo, you start getting exposed to these types of experiences. And so not just for the teams that qualify for CONCACAF Champions League, who will have to fight into that, and that tournament is going to continue to grow. But I think even just from a player development standpoint, like exposing young players from the region overall to these types of matches or these types of environments is a really important step as well.
I don't think it's just players, it's coaches too.
Yep.
It's veterans. Yeah. It's up and down our rosters. It's showing a different standard that you have to rise to meet. And I'm excited for this new League's Cup in one key way, because we're used to seeing a lot of filet mignon in CCL. We're used to seeing the gigantes, right? Cesar, we see the big clubs. We've measured ourselves against the big clubs, and we've seen our big clubs. We haven't seen like chicken fingers against mac and cheese. You know what I mean? Like, let's go down the menu a little bit. Let's go down the menu. You know what I mean?
Is we be hungry at midnight?
I like chicken fingers. What's wrong with chicken fingers?
A lot of people like chicken fingers, but you're not putting them at the top, Cesar.
Oh God! Please tell me who you're referring to right now.
I can't do that. I'm contractually obliged not to say which teams are those. But look, I think every club is going to get that opportunity to prove that there's something more. And to maybe light a fire under ownership or their GM to say we need more, or we need to be more competitive in this way, or the place we're going is not going to get us the heights we want to go. Every bit of incentive that we have as a league and as clubs, as players to improve is a positive, in my opinion. And we need that. Commissioner Don Garber has said that. We're going somewhere where we're going to have to get better. We see that in the results. We saw that in the result tonight. I hope that it's a catalyst for that improvement, and I hope that MLS can compete from the jump. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm going to be excited and positive and hopeful about it. I'll still be the number one Leagues Cup fan in the world, but I think it's going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's going to be a spectacle.
Is it going to be mostly held across the U.S. or do we know exactly
that is what they're saying the current plan for year one is, but I don't think anything is off the table in that sense. I certainly couldn't speak to the future plans.
That's because that's one of my few like gripes with it, and just like I think that's understandable from Liga MX fans too, who maybe could be won over a bit more if you actually had more of these games in Mexico. I understand the reasoning from those in charge why you would have them in the United States, but hopefully down the line that is something that they would consider, because I would find that pretty interesting if they were to do that. But yeah,
we've just lit the spark. That's it, man.
Doing an away day in Mexico City or wherever, like that would be an incredible experience, I think, for the fan base. We saw Seattle travel well, and León has fans everywhere, of course, and all these clubs do, of course. But I think kind of getting that experience of going abroad is a part of it too. So I hope it eventually expands into that.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be like this far off, like Estadio Azteca or like going over the wall, like Guadalajara. Like, why can't it be like kind of cool, like this regional thing? Like, it would be fascinating if there was a game in the Estadio Caliente, just like right across the border, like in Tijuana. It's like it's pretty close. Over in Juarez, or over in like Monterrey. Like, it's not too far away from Texas. Like that's what I would find just as fascinating, as well, as opposed to just going to the Azteca, just going over to Chivas' stadium too.
Well, wait and see. We all are waiting and see. We know 2023, the general terms that will come with the Leagues Cup. We know the champion for 2021, Club León. Another competition coming next year. I'd expect to be similar to this year, and then we go big in 2023. I'm Andrew Wiebe, Matt Doyle, Kalen Carr, Cesar Hernandez. Thanks for joining us, man. Next week, we're talking Campeones Cup, and of course, Extra Time comes out tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll do this all again, try to break it all down and look ahead. Thank you for sticking with us tonight. Hope you enjoyed Leagues Cup Final 2021. Have a great night, everybody.